All right, so my guests today are Marshall Curry and Matt VanDyke, the director and subject of a new documentary called Point and Shoot. Guess what? It was the winner of this year's Best Documentary Award at the Tribeca Film Festival. That's no small deal. That's nice. So guess the point of this film, it follows Matt VanDyke as he embarks on a 35,000-mile journey across the Arab world on a motorcycle, eventually winding up in Libya, where he joins the resistance fighting to overthrow Muammar Gaddafi, wound up in a Libyan prison for almost 6 months. The Hollywood Reporter describes the film as riveting and suspenseful and an extraordinary and quietly disturbing film.
I was raised on action movies. All my adventures were virtual. My name is Matt VanDyke.
Matthew! On the new Indiana Jones.
I was sort of sheltered and spoiled growing up. Here I was in my mid-20s. My mother and grandmother would do my grocery shopping. I had to do something drastic. You know, a crash course in manhood. I decided I'm going to hit every single Arab country. I'm filming and photographing. Yeah! It was incredible. And then Libya happened.
A revolution is spreading across the Arab world.
Governments have fallen in Tunisia and Egypt. Will Libya be next?
The friends I made in Libya were better friends to me than almost all my friends in America.
You are in Libya now?
One of my friends said, "Why doesn't anybody help us?" I wanted to be shaping events around me and having an impact. And now here was the Arab Spring challenging my very image of what manhood was.
Baltimore resident Matthew VanDyke is armed and fighting with rebels in Libya.
I spent 5.5 months in 2 different prisons, and it absolutely transformed me.
I had grown out of Matthew VanDyke.
Everybody tries to create their idealized image of how they want to be seen and who they want to be.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming. I'm really glad to have you. Thanks for making it in.
Thank you for having us.
Now, you started out on a motorcycle journey. Tell me why you decided to do that.
I just graduated with a master's degree in Middle East Security Studies.
Really?
Yeah.
No, really? Now, what made you get... That sounds like a crazy major to have, a Middle East Security Studies?
They call it a spy degree, is the joke. It's,
okay.
Yeah, from Georgetown.
Most
of my classmates went on to work for the CIA.
Okay, that makes sense.
Department of Defense.
Okay, gotcha.
I wanted to go see the region for myself. I wanted to make an motorcycle adventure film in the spirit of an Australian filmmaker named Albie Mengels that I greatly admired. And I wanted to go on a journey of self-improvement and toughen myself up a bit.
Oh, yeah? And you found some self-improvement?
Yeah, it was an interesting few years.
Ah, okay. Well, thanks for coming in. We'll talk to you guys later. Now, did you have any big epiphanies? No, so you start out on the motorcycle. You have the cameras with you, right? Now, you hadn't hooked up yet you hadn't decided to make this documentary yet. You hadn't emailed him. You guys didn't even know each other yet, right?
Right. No, it was after I came back from Libya, actually, that I realized I did not have time anymore to put together the original film I'd done and also become a film about military service, and I couldn't really direct that myself and have it be taken seriously, so I had to take a step back from it.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, I think, anybody who goes to Libya on purpose, I'll take them seriously. I'll take them seriously. So you decided to do this because you wanted to learn, you wanted to discover, have a life experience. Can you tell me what's the first life experience you had that you like to...
I mean, that's the reason I went on the motorcycle journey. That period in my life, had sort of finished at the end of 2010. Libya was something different. It was a personal reasons, having friends there that needed help, and also for the cause. But what I learned over the years, I learned to be more independent. I learned to not be afraid to leave my hotel room, which I was when I started out, and then 4 years later, I was fighting in an African Civil War.
So now you had obsessive-compulsive disorder.
And still do.
And you still, right? I guess
Yes.
you don't ever get rid of that, right?
No, unfortunately not.
And so now when you say you were afraid to leave your hotel room, where did you get the courage to leave your hotel room?
Necessity.
Yeah, you had to eat?
Yeah, I mean, this was in Morocco when I first set out, and also breaking my collarbone a few days into my journeys didn't help either with my self-confidence, nor did having my first night in Morocco consist of the hotel owner coming up and asking me how many kilos of hashish I wanted to buy.
Oh, really? So, how many did you want to buy?
None.
You didn't want to buy any? That's amazing. Okay. So you just dropped everything. You go to the Arab world, but it's not like you didn't know anything about the Arab world. You'd studied it, right? You're a smart guy.
I had an academic understanding.
Did you speak Arabic?
I spoke a little Arabic. Yeah, I'd taken courses. While I was at Georgetown, I took courses at the Middle East Institute. You know, I had a $30,000 education, but didn't know how the toilets worked over there.
Oh, I met a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
I know a lot of those guys.
So
yeah, that's all right. That's all right. We need guys like you.
Yeah, well, I learned the hard way.
Okay.
How the toilets work over there.
Now, what surprised you the most on your journey about the people you met in the Arab lands? I don't know if that's the proper nomenclature to call it Arab lands, is it?
It's an interesting nomenclature.
Okay.
I'll run with it. People, generally what I learned is that people all over the world are pretty much the same. They just want to get up, go to work or not really go to work, depending on how they feel about their work, come home, relax with their family, and call it a day. It's fairly universal, you know.
So that everyone is the same. That's really what you came back with. That is amazing.
Essentially, yes. I mean, I went there with these academic notions that there was this pan-Arabism and all of this, all these sort of fantasies about it and romanticism of it. And at the end of the day, things were much more simple than people think. And when they think about people in the region and they look at conflicts in the region now going on in Syria and other places, they should just imagine, what it would be like if it was happening in their neighborhood and let that guide their view on it.
Yeah, I don't think Americans ever think about that. Like when we drop a bomb, and you know we bombed 7 different Arab countries since 9/11, right? So when we drop a bomb on an Arab country, people don't think about it like, oh, what if they bombed the Jamba Juice down the street from me? Like that's what we're doing, and they don't realize that that's actually what's happening. Am I close? Is that kind of what's happening? People are dropping bombs right in their neighborhood, right?
Yeah, at times. I mean, sometimes I'm in favor of dropping those bombs, depending on if they're hitting the right targets and not the Jamba Juice. But yeah, I mean,
that's the hard part about it, right? Isn't it to kind of make sure you don't blow up a wedding party instead of a terrorist?
It's difficult to do that, except I think that actually the U.S. takes more precautions and does it more effectively than any other country has done in history. But, you know, more importantly, in conflicts like Syria, when we see people who are getting shot by their government in the street, we have a responsibility to support them just like we would support our neighbor if it was happening in our own neighborhood.
So you were in Syria during the revolution, and that revolution was started because of a drought that happened, and the farmers came in to the cities, and Assad overreached. He started shooting them when they were protesting, correct? You were there then?
No, I was in prison when the Syrian revolution started, but after I returned from Libya after the war, I went to Syria and made a short film called Not Anymore, Story of Revolution that is available on YouTube now, actually. You can just search for Syria film and you'll find it. And did some other work advising rebels based on my experience in Libya and things. So I spent some time in Syria during the war. The causes of that conflict essentially are children went and sprayed down with the regime on a wall. They were tortured. People got angry, went out and protested. Those protests grew, and Assad shot them. And people don't like being shot in the street. More of them rose up, and here we are today.
Okay, so how were you accepted as an American traveling by yourself through Arab countries?
Surprisingly well. You know, I really had no problems over the years. People welcomed me into their homes.
No kidding.
When I went to Libya, I paid a bribe to get into Libya. And the money that I had actually paid to the tour agent, he became a friend of mine. I ended up staying in his office weeks longer than I had initially planned to be in the country. I think he spent more money on me as his friend and his guest than I had paid him. So maybe not the best businessman, but a good friend. But it was like that everywhere I went. People were great to me.
Maybe it's you. Maybe you attract good people.
Maybe.
Maybe
but,
that's it. Maybe you have some kind of a gene.
I would like to think that, but that's not really the case because my experience in America is nothing like that, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I would think that you'd just be one horrible near-death adventure after another.
It was that too.
Oh, there was that. No, you did end up in a prison in Libya, so they weren't all nice.
I was arrested.
Tell me about that. How did you get arrested and put in a prison in Libya?
Well, even before Libya, I was arrested or detained in Iraq 20 times, once hooded and beaten and mock executed by Iraqi security forces in 2010 and accused of being Al-Qaeda. You see in the film, I was punched in the face by an Afghan cop after being attacked by a village mob. Yeah, it wasn't all just, smiles and roses.
After I got arrested one time, I would get the hell out of there. Now, why did you stick around?
It's just the price you pay when you're driving around on a motorcycle with a Delaware license plate and a ponytail, and they haven't seen anything like that before. But actually, what happens is you become friends with the guys that arrest you because first they want to kick your
You can swear.
Oh, all right. Well, first they want to kick your ass. And then after you charm them a little bit, you exchange numbers, and then next thing you know, you're going back there and drinking juice boxes with the guys after hours.
No kidding.
Yes, some of the best friends I have in various countries are actually people that initially arrested me.
And so after they arrest you and you get out, do you ever talk about why they arrested you or beat you or anything? And does that ever come up, or we just don't talk about it?
Well, I'm not friends with the guys that beat me, but just the ones that arrested on occasion.
Okay.
Well, we joke about it. No, they will. They'll joke about it. They'll say, "Oh, remember that time when you first came in the country all those years ago?" And
that's amazing.
And we'll laugh about it. They'll laugh a bit harder than I laugh about it, of course.
I bet.
But yeah, no, and in Libya even, I was wounded, captured, and spent about 6 months in prison there.
Now, you fought with the rebels in Libya.
Right.
And what made you do that?
I'd been to Libya in 2008, so a few years before. I had really good friends there, and actually the Libyan that is in the film, Nori, who drove the Jeep that I was the gunner on, I had actually known him for 4 years before the war started. So it was very personal to me, and I'd also seen the effects of authoritarianism in the region over the years, and here was an opportunity to do something about it. And I believe that if you believe in something, you should go do it, not just give a thumbs up from your television.
Wow.
From your sofa at the television.
Yeah, I believe that too, except I don't practice it. But that's a little different. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. So now I want to ask you, what were you, any regrets on this trip?
No, not really. I mean, I regret certain things about just sort of small things that I didn't show more initiative early on in the Libyan conflict. On that mission, raising my objections more forcefully to some things that weren't done right early on, but I felt it was their war, and I was not gonna do that. Other than that, no. I mean, I things turned out okay. I survived it, and I'm here to talk about it. Fortunately.
Okay. Well, this trip and your experiences on this trip, being arrested, being beaten, being thrown in a Libyan prison, seeing revolutions happen, making friends with the people who arrested you. How does this affect your view of America's foreign policy, and how has it changed your view of the outside world?
My view on American foreign policy is essentially we had a president that was quite foolish, followed by one that was quite cowardly. It's been a very difficult 4 terms for American foreign policy. I believe that if a Libyan-style air campaign had been applied to Syria early on, we wouldn't have ISIS. I wouldn't have had to see 2 of my friends, James Foley and Stephen Sotloff, beheaded on camera. And the Assad regime would be in its last days, and a lot of people's lives would have been spared. I think that Libya is a model that should be applied when people rise up fighting for their freedom. We should support them with air power, intel, weapons, ammunition, but let them do the heavy lifting themselves, not bumble into something like we did in Iraq and try to do it for them and then hand it to them, because they won't appreciate it and they won't fight to keep it going once we leave.
Okay, well, how's Libya doing now?
Yeah, it's a rough time, but, it's not uncommon for a country to go through a civil war after experiencing a revolution or civil war. So historically, this is par for the course. And for an 8-month revolution, it's historically quick, and I have the utmost confidence that Libyans will sort this out, and the country will be far better off in the future than it ever was under Gaddafi.
So now you hooked up with Marshall, and who's a two-time Academy Award-winning documentary.
Nominated.
I'm sorry. Nominated. Oh, I blew it. Nominated, but that's still fantastic. You know, nobody cares if you're only nominated. I don't. That's fantastic. So now, how did you first hear about his story?
I just got an email from him one day explaining that he had recently returned from Libya and that he had taken a camera. And so he came to New York and met with my wife, who's a producer on the film, and me. And he and Lauren, who's his girlfriend, who's also in the film, they told us this extraordinary story. And we just listened to it for probably 4 hours, just unbelievable series of adventures and insights. And after they left, we just couldn't stop talking about it. And so I thought, you know, I wonder if we could build a film that just reproduces the experience that we just had of sitting down and meeting an extraordinary person with an incredible story and intercutting it with his footage. So that's point and shoot.
So now, was there a message you were trying to convey with this movie? Is there a message to the movie?
It's not a polemical film. It's not a film that sort of makes a particular argument. To me, there were lots and lots of issues and questions that it raised, and so the film is intended to get people engaged in an extraordinary story and to talk about it. I mean, after the premiere at Tribeca, I went across the street and to have dinner, and there were two separate tables where people were yelling at each other about the movie, and it was just sort of music to a filmmaker's ears.
Wow, I can imagine. That'd be fantastic.
So it's it's an incredible coming of age story about a guy that grew up very sheltered, went off on what he calls a crash course in manhood, and changed many times over the course of that adventure. It's an adventure story. It's a film about how we define and how we chase adulthood and how we use cameras to capture our lives and tell our stories. And so the point and shoot of the title is sort of a double meaning with the camera and also the guns that Matt took up while he was in Libya.
So now you know how to make a movie. He didn't know how to make a movie. He was a budding filmmaker, right? Brought some cameras with him. And you the two documentaries that were nominated, Cory Booker's Street Fight, right? That was fine. Cory Booker. No, I'd like to talk to you about that movie too. There's so much. You also did what's called Racing Dreams.
Yep, that's right.
And that's about NASCAR.
Yeah, it's about it's about three kids, two boys and a girl, who are 11, 12, and 13, who want to become NASCAR drivers. But it's really about adolescence and having dreams and the challenges of figuring out your life.
Now, doing documentaries like those, how is it different than doing this documentary?
Well, the other one is If a Tree Falls, and it's about a radical environmental group, the Earth Liberation Front, who one of the guys faced life in prison for burning timber facilities. And in some ways, these films are all very different. I mean, it's NASCAR, it's urban politics, it's radical environmentalism, and Arab civil wars. But I think that they are all about people who have strong passions for something, and that moment when their passion kind of bangs into reality, and that's a topic and a moment that I like to chew on over and over and over. But I would say creatively, there's another big difference, which is, I shot those films, and this one Matt mostly shot.
Matt shot this one.
Yeah.
So you kind of put the documentary together after he shot the film. How is he as a cameraman, by the way?
He's quite good. It's funny. He shot between 100 and 200 hours of footage, and the first 20 aren't quite as good as the last 20, but so you can see it. You can see him the kind of learning to use the camera, and by the end, it's extraordinary. I mean, some of the images are just beautiful and insightful, and it's not the same footage of an Arab civil war that you see on CNN, because it's somebody who's inside. There are these shots that are amazing, things I've never seen before in a film.
Now, why documentaries instead of another form of film? Why would you do?
I guess I'm just curious about people, and I like the process of asking people about their lives and trying to figure out what makes them tick, and then putting it together into a movie, a story that feels like a movie. To me, documentaries have kind of a bad name. I think people imagine that they're going to get lectured if they watch a documentary, and for me, they are just nonfiction movies.
Yes, yeah, I know. I love their. I like nonfiction better than fiction. I like documentaries better. So now, has this, making this movie, has it changed your outlook on America's foreign policy or how we relate to Arab countries?
Not so much.
You still feel the same way?
I mean, yeah. It's funny. Well, to me, the thing that grabbed me about the film, it's not a film about the Arab Spring or about the Libyan Civil War. I mean, it is, but that's where it takes place, and it has a lot of insights into that. But that's not what initially hooked me about it. It's not, last year there was this terrific movie called The Square, and that's about the Arab Spring in Egypt, and this is very different from that. This is a story of a young man who's figuring out his way in the world.
And did you figure out your way in the world?
For the most part, but life's a continuous journey and learning experience.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But that's why I was just listening to Ram Dass today talking about meeting his guru, and so I was very excited to meet you, and you very much are exactly what I thought you would be like, right? You're this guy who's mysterious, right? He's a little mysterious to me. He's got that quiet strength, He's like, ooh, you don't want to cross him either. He's always saying he's aware of everything. Doesn't talk too much, doesn't need to, right? No, it's exactly. So I really wanted to see if I could glean any life lessons from you. Like, do you have a message to give to people at all about anything?
I guess what it would be is if you have a passion and something you want to do, just go do it, because hardly anybody's going to stop you. And if you put your mind to it, you can pretty much get away with anything, and if you'll probably survive it. If not, you probably won't know that you didn't anyway. I don't recommend that people necessarily jump on a motorcycle and head over there right now, but everybody has sort of their own dream of something that they've wanted to do, and they should go and do it. Not just think about it their whole life.
Wow, well, that's pretty fantastic. That's right. That's great. What's next for you?
I worked in Syria some, and now I'm sort of shifting my attention to Iraq. So I'll be heading over to Iraq in December.
Really?
To do some things. I'm delivering aid to Christians.
Work with some Ebola people, maybe something a little safer.
No.
What are you doing? I'm sorry.
I'm delivering aid to Christians who were forced from their homes by ISIS.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be doing some other work in Iraq in the coming year.
Okay. Matt VanDyke, thank you for being our guest on Marshall.
Thank you.
Now, what is next for you? Do you have another film? And I'm sure you got some ideas, right?
I do, but the next couple of months will be really focused on this. We have opened in New York, and we're in LA this weekend at the New Art. And
great.
Then we roll out to about 50 other cities over November and December. So if people want to find out, we'll be doing, Matt and I will be doing Q&As here in LA on Saturday night, and then in Boston and DC. So if people are interested, they can check out our website, which is pointandshootfilm.com. And there's also a Facebook page, and click on See It, and you can list all the cities.
There's going to be a link right underneath this. You click on that there.
Great. And there's a terrific trailer there, too. If people
are
interested in getting a taste of the movie.
Oh, I wanted to insert the trailer
free.
Earlier on. We're going to do that. We're going to insert the trailer earlier on in this interview.
Excellent.
Okay. Thanks for coming in, you guys. Thanks for being I appreciate you making it. 30,000 miles plus that extra. Last 20 minutes was a son of a bitch, but you got here. All right. Thank you very much, Matt and Marshall. I appreciate you.
Thank you.